me wear my mall-bought boots and comfort.
Well, welcome to Up Next with Popcorn Kelly, Episode 2. In this episode of Up Next, I will describe the state record in some detail. I want to share with you how we developed it and how it differs from the better-known world record stage. I'll also share some of our experiences shooting it, as well as some of the special rules that we needed to develop in order to use it in a match. It's a little different than the world record stage. And then finally, I'll show you how you can download the stage layout and instructions so you can use it to establish your own state, maybe your own club records. Please bear with me as I move into episode 2. This is a new format for me. This podcast is a work in progress. It's going to be a little rough around the edges, so bear with me a little bit, and we'll just see where this takes us. Okay, so how did it begin? Well, in 2021, we began exploring hosting the Illinois State Championship at our local club. Eventually, we received permission from the Milan Rifle Club for the 2022 State Championship match. So as we were working through the details, the discussion came up about possibly including the world record stage in the match to establish state records. To our knowledge, that had never been done, and we thought it would add an interesting dimension to the match. For those that are unfamiliar with the world record stage, it's a well-known and widely recognized stage established by Lead Dispenser in about 2009. It uses a standard layout and set up exactly the same way every time. Here is an image of the layout. There are 5 16-inch rifle targets, 54 feet from the firing line, with a 3-foot edge-to-edge gap between the targets. They have 5 16-inch pistol targets, 21 feet from the firing line, with an 18-inch gap between the targets, and then 4 shotgun targets set about 30 feet from the firing line. It's a stand and deliver stage. Pistols are holstered, rifle and shotgun staged in front of you. At the beep, the instructions are to sweep the pistol targets twice in the same direction, holster the pistols, then sweep the rifle targets again twice in the same direction, and then shoot the 4 shotgun knockdowns. We had several discussions within the group about using the world record stage in the state championship, and there was enough interest to continue exploring it. In September 2021, I went to Gunsmoke, the Midwest Regional, and I spoke with several other shooters, including typical shooters like me, which is to say average, but as also a couple of regional and really national champions. Most were curious to enthusiastically supportive of the concept of shooting a state record stage. However, about 1 in 3 of the people I spoke with expressed the same concern. The target distances in the world record stage were simply too far to include in a state match. A couple of people suggested using it perhaps as a side match. I considered it, but I really didn't want it to be a side match, and for the most part, it came down to 2 reasons. If we set up this world record stage as a side match, there would be an expectation that if someone set the world record, we would be able to submit it as a world record. The problem with that was, to do so would require us to videotape every shooter's attempt. And frankly, we just wouldn't be set up to have a video recording system for a Friday side match that could go on all day long across dozens and dozens, of potential shooters. Another really liked the idea of the state record stage, but suggested we use shorter target distances. Based on the feedback, I reconsidered my intention to use the world record stage and began developing a more match-appropriate stage that we could use during the state championship. So after testing a few different setups and options, I ended up with what we now call the state record stage. The state record stage is absolutely modeled after the world record stage, with three key differences. We shortened the target distances. The rifles, we shortened from 54 feet to 21 feet. And we reduced the gaps from 3 feet to 18 inches. The pistols, we reduced the target distance from 21 to 12 feet, and the shotguns we moved in from 30 feet to 18 feet. Here are two photographs for a visual reference. The top photo, shooters, give you the shooter's perspective of the world record stage. The bottom photo is the state record stage. And while both layouts use 16-inch targets, the bottom photo targets certainly look a lot closer and larger than the world record stage. I tested both layouts, shot them both, and after shooting the world record stage, I was absolutely convinced it would have been a mistake to use the world record stage in a state championship competition. The second change we made was to the gun order. The world record stage prescribes the gun order: pistol, rifle, shotgun. Well, as I thought about it, I said to myself, why don't we do something that sort of favors the individual shooter? And so this is still a stand and deliver stage, the state record stage, but we allow the shooter to determine the gun order. The shooter can start and end with any gun they want to. Rifle, of course, can't be last, but we want to give the shooter the opportunity to shoot whatever order of guns they feel puts them in the best position to shoot their best time. And then the third change was that you get to shoot this stage to set a record once, and one time only, unlike the world record stage where it's typically set up and you shooters can just shoot it and shoot it and shoot it again until they're satisfied. This is really consistent with other sporting events too. Records can only be set during a competition. The results from this stage, after having shot it, I can tell you it was universally accepted. It was absolutely enjoyable, and we're going to do it again at the 2024 state championship. Here are a couple of videos of people shooting it: Lady Leah and Willie Mescal. I'll be back when the videos are over.
Twenty-six, 32, 26, 32. $15.96.
I think I mentioned it earlier when I thought the one and done nature of this stage, I thought there would be surprises. I thought we all know people that we would look at and just expect them to set the record. Remember, this is 5 targets in a straight line. Targets are all even. You just sweep the targets twice, 2 single tap sweeps with the pistol and the rifle, and do the shotgun knockdown. But if you try too hard, if you try to go too fast, you'll slip off a target or two. And in fact, that's exactly what happened to more than one person. They ended up having a miss or two, giving up the record to the next fellow or lady. Oh, well, you know what? There's always next year. Interestingly, as I was leading into the match, prior to the match, I was talking with one of the top shooters that was fully expected to set the record, and they did. But in talking with him, he said he's going to, when he gets to the line, he was going to dial it back just a little bit because he recognized, the opportunity to try and go too fast and have a miss. He dialed it back. He set the record. Okay, so now, you know what? There are a couple of special considerations that if you want to use this in a match that you need to be aware of. Specifically, stage DQs and match DQs. If a person had a match DQ, scores were wiped out, and even if they set the record, it would not be recorded. They would not be recorded as having done so. They were disqualified from the match. That's fairly straightforward and fairly easy. Now, stage DQs were just a little bit more complicated. We shot this on stage 6. It was stage 6 last year. It's going to be stage 6 this year. So let's say a person had a stage DQ on stage 4. Single stage DQ, no problems. He's going to be scored appropriately and then move on. Gets to stage 6. They set the record. They get to keep it because they set the record. They're not disqualified from the match. However, if they were to have a second stage DQ, they are again, they'd be having a match DQ now, and they would be prohibited from having their record recorded. The other wrinkle with stage DQ is that in theory, you could have a stage DQ on the record stage. You're going to be given a time. You're going to, let's just say we're going to add, I think, 150 seconds. There's 20 hard rounds, 5 seconds, plus another 30-second penalty or something. So anyway, let's just say 150 seconds penalty for the stage DQ. So they have a score. And let's say they were the only one or everybody else did worse. Technically, you could say that they still set the record. However, we set up a special rule that said if you have a stage DQ on the record stage, you cannot set a record. Even if you have the best time of anybody in your category, or in some cases, you might be the only one in your category. Then we also had to decide who could set the state record. Okay, so what's the possibilities? Essentially, there's two. There are anybody from anywhere around the country that's shooting in that match could set the state record, or somebody from Illinois only. And we gave this a lot of thought. And in the end, we came down to the fact that this was the Illinois State Championship, and therefore only Illinois shooters could set an Illinois state record, just like only Illinois shooters can become the state champion. Now, we didn't want to exclude the out-of-state shooters. I think 40% of our shooters were from out of state. And we wanted to allow them the opportunity to set a record as well. So we actually have two records. We have the state record, and we have a club record. State record's obvious. You got to shoot it in the state championship and have the best time. The club record, anyone that's shooting at our club, whenever the stage is set up, whether it's a state championship or whether it's another match, but in this case it was a state championship, anyone from anywhere could set the club record. If you think back to the two videos I showed, Lady Leah and Willie Mescal. Now, Lady Leah is from Illinois. She set the Illinois state record, and she was also the fastest in her category, so she set 2 records that day, the state and the club. Now, Willie is from Missouri. He was ineligible to set the state record. He did have a better time than the person who actually set the Illinois state record, but he's from Missouri. He couldn't set the Illinois state record, so he set the Iowa irregular club record. You know, if you set this up at your club or your state, you're certainly free to decide to do something different, and I would encourage you to give it a lot of thought and just, do whatever you think's right. The last thing I want to talk a little bit about, if you're considering setting this up at your club, setting it up for your state championship match. Don't underestimate the scoring challenge with this, particularly when it's a large match. There's a lot of things going on here. You have in-state versus out-of-state in our case. You have records in every category, men's and ladies. And then in future years, you also have to determine, who has the best time in that particular match, and then compare those times to previously set times. And it's not rocket science. It's easily done. In our case, the challenge was that our award ceremony is immediately following the match. And therefore, time sort of the essence in that, and we needed to find a way to sort of turn that around pretty quickly. I ended up creating an Access program. We use PracticeScore, and so we could export the PracticeScore HTML data, import it into Access. I set up a series of Access queries, essentially, that did all of our reporting for us. It reported rank order results, it reported category results, it determined the fastest Illinois shooter and the fastest out-of-state shooter, and presented it to us in relative short order. Didn't take me too long. It might take me 15 or 20 minutes to go through those processes. It worked really well. It would be a bit of a manual process to do. If you have time, not a problem. We didn't have the time, and we won't have the time again this coming year. So, with that, I want to bring episode 2 to a close. I want to just add that the state record stage was an absolutely great addition to our championship. It was well received. People really like shooting it. It's, there aren't many opportunities for firsts anymore. This is one of those opportunities, though. It adds a really interesting dimension, and it's a bit of a interesting personal challenge when you step up to that line, knowing you could set a state record. And the first time it's done in a state championship, there is a new record set in every category. So someone is going to set it. I encourage everyone in charge of their state match to at least consider adding the state championship, the state record stage to your championship. If you do, I also encourage you to share, to inform the other clubs in your state, share the state layout with them. Let them set it up and practice it. We did, and I know other Illinois clubs were able to set this up and practice it before they arrived. We set it up in our club and practiced it. I shared it essentially nationally as well, so not only if you're from Illinois or Iowa or whatever number of, wherever you were from, you could download and shoot it if you want to in advance. In fact, interestingly, in just the last 4 weeks, I've had 2 people call or email me and ask about setting the stage up in their state championship match. One sort of out east and one sort of out west. they really seemed pretty excited about adding something like this to their state match, and I encourage them to do so. I haven't heard from them. I don't know if they will, but they may. If you want to experience it in person, come to the 2024 Illinois State Championship. It's scheduled for August 16th to the 18th. See for yourself. Maybe you'll set the state or club record. So, who doesn't want to hold a record? Here's your opportunity. If you want to get a copy of the state record stage layout and instructions, go to www.illawarrairregulars.com. There is a link at the top of the right menu column. Label's obvious when you see it. Click on that, download the state record stage layout and instruction set. So, with that, thanks for watching. If you have any questions or comments about the stage, or if you have ideas for future podcasts, leave them in the comment section below. Also, if you plan to or begin looking into holding this at your state championship, let me know. I'm curious. So, with that, you know what? This is Popcorn Kelly signing off. Up next, episode 2. Hopefully our paths will cross one day, wherever that may be. Have a wonderful day. Thank you very much.